Okay, so before we move forward, I wanted to pause. I just wanted to pause for a moment and explain how to read what you're about to see. I want to explain how to read what you're about to see because I created multiple diagrams for this series, multiple series actually, um, because people have different um, learning styles and accessibility needs. Some people process by listening, some through reading, and some through like visual pattern recognition. And that's kind of where I fall in. And that's how I think. So I wanted to create something that would be more accessible. With that being said, I also wanted to make sure that it was understood that I'm not just posting isolated receipts as I just find things like, hey, here, here, here. There's actually structure. I wanted to map the patterns as I see them so you understand how things connect, how they repeat, and how it scales. Once again, how it connects, the the structural pattern of how it repeats, and then how it's been scaling up. So everything you see will fall into three categories, at least at this stage where I'm at. So think of it as a guide, a map, if you will, that will help you move throughout the series that I have created here. Just keep in mind there are three major ones: A, B, and C. Um, the first section, A, has already been published, it's already out. So go ahead and check that out. And section A is all about the structure. It's all about structure. This is where we look at policy level design, specifically Project 25, and how it translates into like real world impact. Like real world impact. That's why you saw, let's say, educational destabilization, right? The education destabilization. Yes, that's why you saw that. Financial control and regulatory capture. So, Section A essentially answers the question, how is the system built? How is it actually built? So, that's what's addressed in Section A. As we transition to the next section, that is Section B. B is where we currently are. This is B0, explaining the process, but we are in Section B. So, the remaining Section B videos will follow shortly. So, Section B is where we address the method, right? This is the methodology section. This section explains what regulatory oversight is supposed to look like, right? Is what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to. How oversight fails and how we identify those failures using what? Public information. This is how we identify those failures using public information. Once again, what? Public information. Operative word there. So, section B answers the question, how do we recognize failure without speculation? How do we recognize without speculation, which I think is a very important part of this process and why I spend time focusing on it. That will allow us to transition into Section C. Section C is where we get a case study. Yes, we get to dive into a case study, and that's where we apply every single thing that we have learned from A and B. Everything from A and B, we will apply that to a real world example. We'll actually do real world examples, but in particular, we have one that we'll really be looking into. And these elements of this case study will include like documentaries, court filings, and verified reporting. So, Section C answers the question, what does this look like when it happens to real people? You know what I'm saying? When it pops up in your front door, not just when it's someone else far yonder that way, right? Not when it's just ideologies and like this almost mythical situation, right? This hypothetical situation. No, we're gonna talk about when it's like personified, right? When it is right in your face, when it is really happening to real people. Real people. We can see logical consequences associated with all the things referenced in Section A and Section B. We get to see it through the lens of an actual, factual case study. Okay. So why does why do the diagrams even matter, right? Like, why did you spend all this time mapping out? And trust me, oh my goodness, yes, I spent a lot of time putting these diagrams together. But each diagram is numbered on purpose because I want you to follow the sequence, right? The structure. Also, keep in mind to screenshot them, reference them, follow them along as you venture into each of the new videos that get dropped in our receipt buffet, that I like to call it, because we definitely collecting receipts and we eating over here. We diving in, right? And I want you guys to understand that I'm doing this intentionally to make information accessible, to offer some transparency, and to make sure that it's really verifiable. Because once again, I said this is public information, so this is in public domain, and I wanted to make sure that you're able to access these resources too, and you can look at it at your own leisure, your own comfort space, whenever you're ready. But to feel like you're equipped you're equipped with the resources to feel informed, right? To be able to understand the content that's presented to you. That's a part of civic literacy, to be able to understand what is being presented to you. And even some of the things that are not being presented to you, understand that there are things that are not, right? When you understand, you can be more informed. You can engage in your civic duty and obligations when you are aware of what all is going on around you. And when it's time to do just that, engage in your civic duty, you're more informed and able to make decisions that will give you the best outcome possible, right? That is the goal, and to be a part of that process. So now that we understand the overall framework, we're moving into Section B. And the first question we're going to answer is, what does regulatory oversight failure actually mean? Like, what does the oversight failure actually mean? And why does it matter to you? Why does it matter to you as an individual? Why does it matter to you as a person that regulatory oversight failure is happening or isn't happening? Why? Well, we'll answer that in the upcoming videos. I hope to see you in the upcoming videos, because while we legally everywhere looking into everything, we collecting these receipts, honey. We collecting the data, we are annotating, we are marinating, and we're coming back and having lively discussions. So stay tuned. See you in the next video.